Thanks, Kimberly. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. Thanks, Susie.
Yay. Signing off. Or tuning out.
Good morning, Karen. Should we check your sound? Good morning, Karen. I think I might have missed you the first time. I wanted to offer to check your sound.
Hi. Gotta unmute on instead of holding.
Well, we had you there for a moment.
No, but it says it's temporarily unmuted, so I need to figure out it's not working if I click on it. I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Karen, I have a prompt that says ask to unmute. I'm going to go ahead and choose that. I think it's because I already made you a panelist the first time you entered. So let's see what happens when I go to that prompt. Right now it shows you muted.
Okay.
There you go.
So I did. It didn't. I had to do Alt A, but at least I figured that out. So.
Okay.
So how are you, Kimberly?
I'm doing very well.
Good. And how are you, Susie? I see you down there somewhere. So are you back to the office, Kimberly?
No, we're still basically remote. Yeah, I'm in the office a couple days a week.
Good.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Susie.
Nice to see you too, Karen. Thanks for being here this morning.
Oh, you're welcome. So Akash is joining us as a audience member.
Oh, okay, got it.
And he and I talked a little bit about the meeting yesterday, so I think he's up to speed for the next one.
Okay, great.
And do we expect members of the public or any of the neighbors going to come for?
Yes.
Probably a few.
Okay,
We've got a few already.
okay. Kimberly, I'm having, I don't see the names of the participants, so I'm not going to know if somebody's raising their hands. So to speak under public comments, could you help me with that?
Certainly. You know what? Let me just check to make sure. I want to try something. I'm gonna put you as an attendee and then put you back as a panelist to hopefully reset that.
Okay.
Let's try that real quick.
Okay.
There, you may see some prompts, but let's just give this a try. There we go. We should have you back and your sound and camera look like they're working.
Okay. I don't see anything right
Still
now.
nothing, huh? Okay. I'll keep an eye on that for you.
No, I mean, I don't even see you guys.
Are you, because your participants should have two different groups. One is attendees and one is panelists.
Yeah, no, I don't. My screen's completely blank.
Karen, that happened to me at one point, and I had shut it off by clicking. There's a view. There should be a view up in the right-hand corner. If you hover up there.
Okay. No, I don't. I'm going to go out and come back again. I'm sorry.
So Karen, it shows muted. I can send a prompt if you think that would help. There you go.
Okay.
Are you still having a hard time seeing the participants?
Yeah, I am. So if you could just help me with that, that would be great.
Okay.
Is that okay, Kimberly?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And then it's 9:04, so we probably should get started if everybody's ready.
Okay.
We
do have a raised hand from one of the attendees. Should I put the agenda back up?
Yeah, actually, aren't we waiting for Carol and aren't we waiting for Carol?
No, we have Adam and Susie, and then we have a couple other staff as attendees.
But I thought, isn't Carol one of the voters?
Yeah,
Gabe is. I'm sorry, it's Gabe.
Gabe will be acting on both Carol and Jesus's behalf for both of the items today.
Okay, does he? And there he is coming on screen.
Yeah, he was an attendee. I wasn't sure if he was going to be a applicant or an attendee. There he is.
Okay, so I think, yeah, if you don't mind putting the agenda back up, Kimberly, and getting us started.
Sure.
So can I just go ahead and start the meeting now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the April 20. Okay, everything's frozen on my end.
It might buffer a little bit, but you're still with us.
Okay, thank you. So please let me know, Kimberly, if I'm not.
I sure will.
So I'd like to call to order the April 28th meeting of the Subdivision Committee and make the following statement. Due to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Orders N25-20, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act and the order of the health officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the Subdivision Committee will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom webinar. Committee chair and staff are participating from remote locations and or practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak during public comment or during our public hearing items will be able to do so by raising their hand in the Zoom meeting and will be given the ability to address the committee. And right now I'd like to open the public comment period. And this is the time for comments for anything that is not on the agenda. If you wish to make a comment, please choose the raised hand on Zoom. Make sure to unmute yourself when you're invited to do so. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Kimberly, is there any members of the public that have their hands raised?
We do have a couple of raised hands, but I think it would be good to remind everybody that this period of public comment is reserved for items that are not on the agenda. If you wish to make a comment during an agenda item, that time will come later. That time for public comment will come later for items that are on this agenda. But this public comment is for items not on the agenda.
Thank you. As Kimberly indicated, if you have comments for items that are on the agenda, you will have that opportunity later on in the meeting. So if you raised your hand inadvertently, please lower it this time so we can see if there are any members of the public who wish to speak on non-agenda items.
So we do have one raised hand, Curtis Milliman.
Okay.
Mr. Milliman, you should have a prompt. There you go.
Am I being heard?
Yes, you are.
And just as a reminder, this is for items not on the agenda.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure that I can see and hear you perfectly.
Okay, thank you. Was that it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if there are no other comments, I will close the public comment period and revert back to the agenda. So we have two items today. The first item is 3.1, and it is the Barnes. It is 3552 Barnes Road. And Ms. Murray, you have this item.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to figure out how to share my screen. There we go, found it. Can you all confirm that you can see my screen?
I cannot.
Well, if you can't, most people can't. Shoot.
Try it once more, Susie, because
Yeah, I'm working on it.
it took a moment for me to take that other screen down.
Okay. Okay. Now can you see it?
Yeah, you just want to click it into presentation.
Yeah, I have to do that after I'm up and running. Okay, can you see it in presentation mode?
Perfect.
Thank you. So the project before us today is the Barnes Road subdivision, and it is a tentative parcel map. The property site is located at 3552 Barnes Road. The proposed subdivision would result in 3 additional parcels. It would subdivide into one parcel into 4. And if approved and developed with residential units, would represent about 15% of our, I'm sorry, not 15%, 0.15% of our required housing allotments from the regional housing needs allocation. So again, the project proposes to subdivide a 0.54 acre parcel, it's about a half an acre, into individual lots ranging in size from 4,793 square feet to 9,043 square feet. Architecture is not proposed, nor is it required to be for small lot subdivision, but the project has been conditioned for future development to comply with the development standards pursuant to zoning code section 2042.140, which provides all of those development standards for small lot subdivisions. The required entitlements include a conditional use permit and tentative parcel map. The conditional use permit has to be approved prior to the acting on the parcel map and was approved on April 22nd. Here's an aerial of the site in its, I'm going to say semi-current state. This photograph is from our GIS, and this is from a couple of years ago. Here's a neighborhood context map. My graphic, I'm so sorry, it doesn't say a lot there, or you can't see a lot, but what you can see is that it is surrounded on all sides by similar residential development. Yeah, a lot of small lots as well as standard. The project application came in December 2019, and it has been delayed significantly because of COVID. Let's see the associated here. I mentioned it again, the associated conditional use permit was approved last week. General plan and zoning, the land use, general plan land use designation is low density residential, and that's shown in the graphic on the left. That yellow color represents low density residential, and the zoning is consistent with that land use designation. It's R16 for single family residential development. In that graphic, what you can see, the kind of the green cross-hatching indicates that that is residential PD or planned development zoning districts. The pink area represents actually small lot areas that have been designated for small lot development. And then on the left side of Walzer Road, down in the lower left-hand corner, those are just R16, which are standard residential, single-family residential zoning district, but it appears to me that those are also small lot, judging by the size of the parcels. So the project is required to comply with the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, the acronym, and it has been found in compliance with CEQA as infill development, a categorical exemption, and under a streamlining measure also because it's consistent with the general plan. Here's a picture of the tentative parcel map. I have, this is a very busy graphic. They all are. I wanted to get it up here. What you can see is that it basically separates, let's see, this will be the remaining parcel here, and then 3 more parcels. These 3 are all the same size at that, almost 4,800 square feet. And then this remaining parcel is the larger one that's 9,000 square feet. Here's a conceptual site plan, which shows that the intent here is to develop the sites with detached single-family residential development. Again, it'll be required to comply with the development standards for small lot subdivision. So during the staff's review, no issues were raised. And so there are no pending issues. The public comments, we did receive 3 emails. I had one telephone conversation with one of the people who sent the emails. And just to summarize those comments, they were concerned about property damage that may be caused by increased traffic, and that's both during the construction period and with the new residential development. The air quality and noise due to the increased development. There was concern about exhaust from new residents, as well, I think during construction. The loss of property value, and I'm just going to say that no evidence has been provided that there would be a loss of property value. I'm certainly not an expert, but this isn't something that we generally consider in our review, because, and especially here where the land use designation is for exactly this kind of development. Decreased safety due to the new street and increased density. So there was concern about people being able to access the backyard fences with the new street running adjacent to them. Again, this area is designated for this type of development, and we can certainly discuss that more. Increased density is out of context for the area. I think the graphics that we've seen so far pretty much rule that out. This is exactly what it is developed with, single family, residential, and predominantly small lot subdivisions. And then there was some concern voiced by a couple people that about previous and existing uses. So the previous uses are not really relevant to this project. That's something that, it's just not relevant to this subdivision. The existing uses, I don't know that it's relevant to this project, but we can certainly talk about that. And so for questions, this is my contact information. I do answer my phone. I think people can attest to that. So if you call me, I would be happy to answer your questions and always follow up in writing. I did this presentation because I know that there are neighbors here, and so it's a little bit more than we usually see during the subdivision committee. I hope I've addressed many of the questions. So I'll just bring it back to maybe the conceptual site. Actually, I'm going to bring it back to the tentative map because that's what's before the committee. And
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Murray. And I really do appreciate your thoroughness in this presentation. I think it really helps put things in context. So thank you very much. We typically don't have a presentation by the applicant, and I don't have any questions of the applicant or of staff. I would like, and you talked about the public comments. Did we receive any recorded public comments? But actually, let me go ahead and open the public hearing first. So if you have comments on this item, if you wish to make comments, please choose the raised hand feature on Zoom. Make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Ms. Hopwood, do we have any comments?
We do, and I have a timer for 3 minutes. So we don't always use it. We sometimes keep it rather informal, but I can use the timer if the chair believes that might be appropriate, or we can leave.
Yes, I think let's go ahead and be standard within all the other meetings within the city and use the 3-minute timer. So Kimberly, will you show that on the screen?
Yeah, let's get Susie to put that tentative map down.
Well, give me just a sec. So, sure.
All right, let me share this. Oops, sorry, wrong share. Okay, let's see here. That didn't go. Okay. Oh, that's not working. Hang on a sec.
It looked like it was working, Kimberly.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
Hard for me to. Okay. let me do this. Let me get our participant unmuted. Mr. Millman?
Yes.
Okay. And get the
Thank you to all of you out there being patient with us and this technology. So thank you.
yeah, using the timer is new to me. Okay. Okay, does that show up okay on screen?
Mhm.
Okay, Mr. Millman, can you see that?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Let me get it
Okay,
started.
Mr. Millman, I think if you want to lead us
Okay.
off in our
Good
public
morning,
comment.
everybody. My name is Curtis Millman. I reside at 1692 Randon Way. I've been a homeowner here for 33 years. And I want to go on record that I am opposed to the project in its context. The building design as it's laid out right now really is not a good fit for the existing homes here. And what I'm referring to is the way the houses are going to be situated. I'm going to be on the business end of a lot of cars that are going to be out here. And what I mean by the business end is be pollution. My back sliding glass door is only 15 feet from the fence. And right now there's a car parked there right now. And the guy was out there idling this morning. Okay, so my point is that if they turn these houses so their business end is pointing at the existing home there, that would alleviate a lot and decrease the density. I think that's just theoretically you could have. Now I'd like to look at worst case scenario. There will be, in my estimation, there could be a dozen cars parked back there. So is this going to be a parking lot? Is it going to be a paved road back there, which will create additional heat? If I sit out in my back patio right here, I'm literally right on the fence line. So I'm going to be having automobiles and a road right there. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is the density, it's not a real good fit. That if they moved it over so that the houses were facing west and they were on the business end, that the existing houses on the business end of all that activity and automobiles and such, that would make a better fit. There's a lot of other things that do come to mind also. We talk about a housing crisis. Well, that may be so, but we're also in a water crisis. So I don't see how having hookups right now is going to be a good idea. That's probably the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed. But I think configuration is wrong. And what about, is there going to be a sound wall there to protect us from anybody? Like if they back their cars up, say somebody hits the gas instead of the brake, they're going to come crashing through our fence here and directly into my 15 feet of space before it hits the house. And I could be, or my family could be sitting back here. So I just think it's too much density. It's configured wrong.
Thank you, Mr. Millman.
Thank you for listening. And I'd like to ask a question, if I may. This was just dropped into our lap less than 10 days ago. And it's kind of feels like it's being rushed, although I see this started back in 17, but we haven't heard anything up until about 10 days ago. And that a bit concerns me. I do have neighbors behind me, and Michelle's out of town right now. I don't know if she's listening to us right now, but I spoke to her. And there's other people here like Rosemarie 2 doors down. I don't think she does Zoom, certainly. And so I think we're at a bit of a disadvantage of not having a public hearing where everybody could be involved. Would be more appropriate would be to have you folks come here and actually be on the lot so you can see what's going on here instead of just looking at a piece of paper, a map with a drawing on it. Does that make sense or not?
Thank you, Mr. Millman. Ms. Hopwood, is there anybody else with their hand raised on this item?
We have Oscar Pardo. Mr. Pardo, you should receive a prompt. Can you see the timer on the screen?
I can. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Hi. Again, my name is Oscar Pardo. I, along with my wife Sandra, we are the property owners of 2044 Shelbourne Way, which is a property that is south of the parcel that we're speaking of. I have spoken to Mr. Millman. We've had discussions about this parcel. I too agree and echo, and for the record would like to state that the density level of the proposed parcel is a bit out of line in my view as to what the parcel can hold. Just perusing really quickly through the City of Santa Rosa zoning code 20-42.140, which was previously referenced here, the setbacks that are outlined in that zoning requirement make it so that, as Mr. Millman pointed out, it doesn't matter how these homes are situated, they're going to be sitting almost next to all the adjoining properties. If those setbacks were applicable to the way the configuration is now and to our property, I would literally have these houses 15 feet from my fence line, which means that I would have 3 backyards going across my end of the property, which if I'm going to do some very rough math and I'm looking at, and again, this is just rough math and not knowing exactly what type of housing is being put up there. Is it a single story? Is it 2-story? It's hard to tell, but if I have two of those homes at 2 stories each, 15 feet from my side, they're basically all facing all my bathrooms in my house. They're literally peering over into my side of the property. There's nothing right now in this present development that gives me any assurances that the setbacks are going to be followed, that the setbacks are not going to be encroaching over on other properties. Mr. Millman has referenced just basic encroachment of the driving lane over onto his side of the parcel. I mean, these homes that are being proposed are not sitting on a regular street. These are homes that are being shoehorned into a property that, if I look across the way to the houses that are built on the north end of that property line, there's only 2 houses there. They're trying to fit 3. And it's quite concerning that I understand that there's rules there that indicate that the development is appropriate. But as Mr. Millman had pointed out, if you stand on that property and you start looking around as to how these properties are basically shoehorned into this parcel, they do have a strong impact on all the surrounding parcels. It's not as if they had their own street and there's separation of backyards enough to allow some breathing space between the properties. The present proposal does not provide any of those separating elements that we typically see even in these smaller lot developments here in Coffee Park. So with that, I would wish that there would be subsequent meetings to address not only the concern that Mr. Millman raised about several property owners not being present or able to access this information as we are, but to also have a better idea of what the property owner is actually intending to build on that property in terms of the structure themselves. So with that, I just, I'll put my time aside to whoever's next.
Thank you, Mr. Pardo.
I do apologize, Ms. Weeks. I was checking something in the chat. I didn't realize that the clock had stopped.
That's fine.
Yeah. And we do have that chat. Apparently they're having a hard time finding the raised hand feature in Zoom. And it looks like a device name. So, oh, there it goes. So we have one more member of the public here.
Okay.
They can certainly choose to introduce themselves. Let me get this reset here.
Yes, hello?
Yeah, we can
Hello.
hear you.
Oh, yes, hi. Yeah, my name is Dan Godino. I'm the property owner of 1696 Random Way and next to Rosemary and Michelle. And the concern I have is that the proposed properties are too close to the back fence. I did put a new fence, 6 foot and 2 feet of lattice. And my property will be basically getting all the traffic from the existing home and the 3 additional units. And so, if it's 2-story homes, like the other gentleman comment, they can just, view my backyard. And so, I plan to put a jacuzzi eventually there. And I think the issues of privacy are a concern, and also all the noise. And so I just don't know how well it's going to be planned for, the fence, if it's going to be reinforced with concrete, or what guarantees do we have that we will not have, those kind of privacy issues and structural issues. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item?
Looks like we have Tim McWatt. Let's see, wait, did that hand go down? I saw a hand momentarily, but I don't see it anymore.
Okay, well, let's just wait a second and see if there's anybody else who raises their hand or
Sure.
in chat. Okay. Okay, so I am going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the staff to ask some questions. So Ms. Murray, I have a couple of questions. One is the noticing to neighbors when items come before the subdivision committee, what's the noticing requirement or process to neighbors?
The noticing requirement, well, for the public hearing, it is the 10-day noticing requirement. This is a really old file, and other notices may or may not have been required at the time the application was submitted. We did do a neighborhood meeting, which is required, and I don't have the dates available on that. But you know what? It was back in the presentation. Hold on. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. What I have in the presentation is about the meeting with staff. So I don't have the answer available on that right now, but I could probably, if there are questions for Gabe, which I think he could address the water questions, I can go back and try to do some quick research, but I'll be away from the meeting for a moment.
That's okay. The fact that there was a neighborhood meeting, I think is important. And the fact that the noticing requirements follow the city standard noticing requirements is also important.
And I verify on the noticing that the public hearing noticing was done. I know because it's very recent. I don't have the dates for either neighborhood meeting or a notice application.
Thank you. And then before I go to Gabe, can you address the issue of the density again?
Yeah, so the density, the general plan land use designation allows a density of 2 to 8 units per acre. For small lot subdivisions, is how you get to that 8 units per acre, and it allows the parcel sizes to be between 2,000 and 5,999 square feet. If we look around at the neighbors' properties to the north, one of the properties to the north is actually smaller than the proposed 3, and they're all smaller than the proposed 9,000. The area, the density, they're within the allowable density. And as I showed on one of the graphics, the neighborhood context, as far as the eye can see, really, it's small lot residential and similar development. So I think the bigger issue may be the, not so much the density, but the layout, so.
Thank you. Mr. Osborne, can you talk about the issue of water?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question and actually an excellent concern. The city has secured the water rights for the full build out potential in the general plan within the city limits. And that's typically why we can allow development to move forward, because those water rights do exist. In times of drought, what has a tendency to happen is we have to more closely monitor what the current city policies are related to conservation. And conservation can be a short-term approach to address something, or it can be a long-term approach, such as modifying requirements for landscaping, low-flow water fixtures. So where we are now is we are in the stance of monitoring what the policies are, either regionally or locally, for water conservation and tracking that. And I think an important point with this action today, it really is a subdivision of land. It isn't building units that would result in a usage of water. That's the next step in the process. And typically in situations where you have more severe restrictions, it starts getting into those application types. But it's a short-term issue typically, is what we've seen more historically in the region, which means the conservation efforts are meant to address that more short-term situation. So important point, the water supply exists for these units because they are within the general plan densities, and we are monitoring those conservation measures that will likely come down the road here in the future, and to see how those will affect the more immediate development that happens with building permits.
Thank you. And thank you for reiterating that our role today is the subdivision of the land, that there will be other actions that will be taken around the building. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Typically building permits, which are ministerial actions, and that's important for the public to understand as it gets to building permit.
Mm-hmm.
And Susie, are there any additional entitlements that would be associated with this, or would it go straight to building permit?
After this, it'll go straight to building permit. There was a conditional use permit, but that was approved last week. And that should be, because of the provisions that were in effect at the time this application was submitted, there was the review authority for a conditional use permit on properties within that resilient city combining district were allowed to be done at the director level and needed to be approved prior to the tentative parcel map. In order to allow the smaller lots, that provision has changed since that has been removed. It was removed last October. However, because of the date the application was submitted, those regulations were applicable.
Thank you. I think, I don't have any other questions of staff on this. I think, the fact that as we need to keep reminding ourselves what our purview is as a subdivision committee is that subdivision of the land. And it meets all the requirements and I can make all the findings. So we'll go ahead and call for a vote. Ms. Murray?
I vote in favor of it, yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So that concludes this item, and thank you to the public for being here.
Ms. Weeks, I just wanted to read out a couple of comments that appeared in our chat box on this, if that's okay.
Sure.
One of our attendees commented that the neighborhood meeting was on May 10th, 2017. And another one of our attendees asked a question and said, is there not an assumption that if the lot is subdivided into 3 parcels, that neighbors should expect 3 dwellings at minimum?
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. And I believe that's Mr. Ross, is that correct?
Yes, Chair Weeks, 1 second here. I'll get it. Let me change my virtual background to something more appropriate. Okay, there we go. So I'm just going to open up the presentation.
So this item is item 3.2. It's a public hearing 1747 Linden Lane and 1031 Carroll Lane. And Mr. Ross will be doing our presentation today.
Okay. So, okay, great. Thank you. So, thank you, Chair Weeks, and members of the community in attendance. My name is Adam Ross, project planner for the waiver of parcel map for the project before you. It is located at 1031 Carroll Lane and 1721 Linden Lane. So a bit of the project history and description here. This is part of the Sandalwood subdivision, which was approved in May of 2006. The project at the time included a rezone, a conditional use permit for a small lot subdivision, and a mitigated negative declaration. In 2018, the developer recorded the final map, and then in October 15th in October 2020, a minor design was approved for this specific lot, where it created a duplex for the design of the duplex for this project. And since that time, the project applicant became interested in creating converting them to duets rather than duplexes. A duplex would be kind of like it would be multifamily on a single lot, so 2 units on one lot, and then the duet would be attached housing on individual lots in a duplex type of form. So here's the project location. This is right now. There's actually some construction going on, showing the subdivision being built. The general plan and zoning is low density residential and R16 for single family residential. Again, there was a small lot subdivision approved with this project back in 2006. That remains active so long as the map remains active, which it has been this entire time, and again when it was recorded. It meets the density and zoning district characteristics. So this project, as you see here, is the proposed lot line. So again, this is a waiver of parcel map that we would be acting on today to allow for the subsequent certificate of compliance, which I think if you need clarification, maybe Gabe can specify that at a later time. These are the elevations that were approved as part of the 2020 minor design review application. Pretty straightforward, nice looking duet units. Some of the required findings are, these are actually from the, taken from the parcel map findings, subdivision findings, but in essence, it complies with all of those findings as found in the staff report. The CEQA is that the project received an MND, City Council adopted the MND, and the project hasn't changed outside of that scope. They've received all of their public improvements on the site, which allows the approval of a parcel map waiver. And again, as far as CEQA goes, the MND was adopted, and there are no new or additional bits of information that would require further analysis, as shown in CEQA section 15162. With that, the Planning Economic Development Department recommends that the subdivision committee grant the requested waiver of parcel map to allow the subsequent certificate of compliance for the construction of the Sandalwood Duet at 1031 Carroll Lane and 1741 Linden Lane.
And I would just like to mention that an MND is a mitigated negative declaration for those who don't
Yes,
know.
I apologize if I did
That's
not
okay.
say that correctly.
We all use shorthand.
Thank you. Yes, a mitigated negative declaration, MND.
Mr. Osborne, do you have any comments before we open up the public hearing?
Just some minor ones. This proposal is very straightforward. We can make all the findings. It is actually part of an existing subdivision that has built all the associated improvements for the units. The units themselves aren't really visually changing because of what it was. It's simply really a lot line to segment out that duplex. So from an engineering standpoint, there are no issues on this, and it really does fit the mold of what our waiver process is really defined to be.
Thank you. So with that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. If you wish to make a comment, please choose the raised hand feature on Zoom. And if you can't find that, please put in chat that you can't find it, and Ms. Hopwood will help you. Make sure to unmute yourself when you're invited to do so. If you are dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. And there will be a 3-minute timer on the screen at that point. So, Ms. Hopwood, do we have anybody?
We do. We have Rick Rosenbaum.
Okay, Kimberly, do you have the timer up? I can't see it, but.
Can everybody see it?
If I could clarify, Rick is the project applicant.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize.
That's okay. Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Rosenbaum. You have 3 minutes if you have any comments you want to make on the project.
Mr. Rosenbaum, you should have received a prompt, and you'll need to answer that prompt for us to be able to hear you. Oh, well, it looked like you're there. Go ahead and give it a try.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Oh, okay. I saw the prompt. I just wanted to thank Adam and Gabe, the staff, for the presentation. I don't have anything to add except just wanted to also mention that the plans have been through the building department and have been redesigned for a duet type of construction versus a duplex. And these homes are actually under construction now. And it's our hope to sell them and deliver them to 2 home buyers, sometime by the end of summer. So this is a real 2 new homes being added to your housing stock that are going to be sort of affordable by design based on their smaller square footage. And we're excited to kind of finish this administrative process and actually deliver 2 new homes to potential buyers. That's all I have. If there's any questions of me as the applicant, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenbaum. Ms. Hopwood, do we have anybody else?
That looks like the only hand that we had on that.
Okay, so then with that, I will go ahead and close the public comment period and to see if we received any additional comments in chat or anything like that, Kimberly.
I'm checking the chat and I don't see anything.
Okay, thank you. So then we will close the public comment period and bring it back to the committee. And it is, as was stated before, I can make all the findings. It was very straightforward application of the waiver of the parcel map. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Mr. Ross, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Osborne?
Aye.
And I vote aye also. So with that, we will go ahead and unless there's any other items, we'll go ahead and adjourn the subdivision committee meeting of the 28th of April. That's it. Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Anything else, Ms. Hopwood?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Can I add one more comment? It might be a good thing to mention the appeal period at this time because this is an appealable,
Oh, yes.
both appealable actions.
I'm not sure what the appeal period is.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me mention the appeal.
Okay, thank you.
It's a 10-day appeal period, in which case you need to, if anybody wants to appeal either decision, they can do that by submitting an appeal application. I believe both of these would be appealed to the Planning Commission. If the appeal falls on a Saturday or Sunday or a holiday when we're closed, it would, the appeal period would be extended to the following business day. So I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I can figure it out pretty quick. I believe that the appeal period would be would close on May 10th. There is a fee associated with that and the application's available online.
Thank you very much, Ms. Murray, for pointing that out.
I'll be sure that's added to the script, Chair Weeks,
Thank you.
for you. All right. Thanks
Okay,
so much.
So with that, we'll go ahead and